The rain began falling just after twilight, soft and slow, like a whisper from the sky. The old house, worn with time, stood quiet at the edge of the village, surrounded by trees that swayed gently in the evening wind. Inside, Margaret sat by the window, her hands folded neatly on her lap, her eyes watching the rain trace fragile lines down the glass. She had grown used to silence. The walls no longer echoed laughter, and the rooms felt too large. Her only company was the tick of the old clock above the fireplace and the sigh of wind through the cracks. It had been 5 years since he had left. 5 long years. Kelvin. His name lived in her chest like a heartbeat. She still remembered the night he came into her life, a quiet young man with eyes that carried the sorrow of many lifetimes. He was a stranger then, standing at her door, soaked in rain, holding nothing but a small bag and a worn photograph. "Are you, Mrs. Margaret?" he had asked, his voice barely a whisper. She had nodded, unsure, cautious, until he held up the photo. In it, Margaret stood between her late sister and a boy no older than 4. That boy was Kelvin. "I'm her son," he said. "She told me about you before she passed." Margaret hadn't known what to say. Her sister had left without goodbye, without explanation, years ago. Now, here was her son, flesh and blood, and something inside Margaret cracked open, like a window long sealed against the cold. She let him in. He had been her guest. At first, Margaret gave him the small room upstairs, cooked him warm meals, and asked few questions. Kelvin, in return, helped around the house, fixing the garden, painting the porch, and keeping her company during the quiet evenings. They fell into a rhythm, but behind his gentle smiles, Margaret saw the heaviness in his eyes. He was carrying pain, a deep, unspoken grief. One night, as the fire crackled and rain danced on the roof, Kelvin finally spoke. "My mother used to hum when she was sad. Just low little sounds. She did it the night before she died. I didn't know what it meant. Not then." Margaret didn't reply. She only reached for his hand. He looked at her then, truly looked, as if seeing her not just as an old woman, but as a piece of his lost family. "Why did she leave?" he asked. Margaret closed her eyes. Her voice was a tremble. "We were young. I was the one who stayed. She wanted more, the world, freedom, a love that made her forget everything. And she found it, for a time. But the world has sharp corners. It bruises those who touch it too deeply." Kelvin didn't ask more. He understood. The pain of love lost, the sacrifice of dreams, and the ache of wanting a place to call home, these were feelings he knew well. Weeks turned into months. Seasons passed. And slowly, Margaret stopped calling him a guest. He was family now, not by blood alone, but by the quiet ways he fit into her life. The way he warmed her tea without asking, the way he looked after the garden as though it were a child, the way he sometimes hummed, soft and low, when he thought she wasn't listening. But happiness is a delicate thing. One winter evening, as snow pressed against the windows and the fire burned low, Kelvin told her he had to leave. "There's something I need to do," he said. "Something I've been carrying too long." Margaret didn't ask what. She only asked, "Will you come back?" Kelvin smiled, but it was the kind of smile that hides sorrow. "I don't know," he said. She packed him bread and warm clothes. Before he left, she embraced him, tight, long, as if trying to press her heart into his chest. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "you are loved." He nodded, his eyes wet. And then he was gone. Now, 5 years later, Margaret still waited. Each day, she brewed 2 cups of tea. One for herself, one for him. Each night, she left the porch light on, in case he came home late. The neighbors called her foolish. "He's not coming back," they said. "You're holding on to a ghost." But Margaret knew something they didn't. Some absences are not abandonment. Some departures are not forgetfulness. Kelvin had left with a promise in his eyes. Not of return, but of purpose. He was chasing something, perhaps forgiveness, perhaps healing. And even if he never returned, she believed in the embrace they shared. It had been more than warmth. It had been a transfer of love, deep, enduring, eternal. That was the last time Margaret truly smiled. She aged quickly after that. Her hair turned white, her steps grew slow, yet her eyes remained bright when she spoke of him, her guest who had become her son. One cold morning, the village awoke to news that Margaret had passed in her sleep. Peaceful, they said, like one who had finished waiting. But on the night before she died, a boy in the village swore he saw a man on the porch, tall, with a worn coat, standing in the snow. He knocked once, and when no one answered, he sat for a while, holding something in his hands, a photograph. Later, he stood and placed a folded letter on the doorstep. Then he was gone. The letter was found the next morning. It read, Dear Margaret, I couldn't stay away forever. I just didn't know how to come back. I carried so much pain, so much guilt. But I remembered your words, that I was loved. And when the nights grew cold, I thought of your embrace. It kept me alive. I came back too late. But I hope you felt me there. I hope you know how much you meant to me. You gave me more than shelter. You gave me family. You gave me hope. I will carry your love all my life. Forever your son, Kelvin. The village grew quiet after that. Some said it was just a story. Others believed. But on certain evenings, when the rain begins to fall soft and slow, like a whisper from the sky, the old house seems to breathe again. The wind carries a hum, low, gentle, and sorrowful. And those who listen closely say they can feel it, the power of an embrace that lingers long after the arms are gone.